Good morning. We have a few nice gappers today off the back of Thar yesterday in small cap. So Thar is looking like maybe a day 2 setup. Gonna have a big watch on this one. Huge squeeze yesterday, absolutely massive. All the way up into after hours. Super impressive move. We could see some more today because this one happened yesterday. So this could kick off some runners in small cap. We've already seen some nice gappers. APM in pre-market keeps running. So this could be the one, or we might see a better one later, but so far this is the leading gapper. It is doing some good volume already. Biotech, of course, and I think these are all biotechs this morning. PTIX. This one's a microfloat, super interesting one. Got to be careful with this one. So far, APM is the leader, so this one could be the one. But sometimes you get a surprise. So the leader might not end up being the one that continues. So we'll see. I'm going to try to short something. Let's look at the news really quick. Okay, so this one, they got clinical lab eval program test approval in New York. From the New York State Department of Health. So they're able to start some testing. PTIX. Restructuring. Uh-oh. Cuts $8 million in annual cost. Not always the best news. Transition to a virtual operating model. Restructuring means they're in trouble. But these are all biotechs, so they're all riding on one drug, one product to hold them up. Completion of the first dose injection for all study subjects. Phase 1 trial. AEMD. Let me actually put these on my watch list so I don't forget about them. AEMD. We have APM. And we have PTIX. All right, AMD, HC Wainwright raises price target. They are one of the sketchiest underwriters. Good morning, good morning. So yesterday they filed for an offering. So the stock goes up. They're filing for an offering. This is great news. Size not disclosed. So I guess, they're not going out of business, or they're raising money so they can continue whatever it is that they're doing. But obviously an offering is not great for the stock in the long run. Thar day 2 setup coming for a short. One of my favorites. Big watch on that. Massive squeezer yesterday. Super impressive runner. So this could bring some more big runners into the market. Potentially. That's probably the top watch for small cap. That's pretty much it. Some smaller gappers here. We won't get into these. Okay, so Scott mentioned Neo. There's divergence of Neo in the general market, breaking the higher time frame DTL. Well before earnings, in spite of market weakness. He's referencing 6-hour chart. Yes, sir. Let's take a peek. So I was working on, here we go. Nice flag breakout. I was working on a little TOS script to sort of automate buying some of these trend breaks, because after missing Sunrun, which is really annoying because I was watching that one for a big move, but it played out so fast and it's hard to watch the screen all day. But I made a script to buy, basically I can set a breakout level based on my trend line. So I just put the number in. So I tried it on Neo. This is the first test run of it, and it worked out really great, but it's all on TOS script kind of stuff. But I put a $5 breakout because I wanted to make sure I had a convincing breakout, and then it buys the pullback to the 50 on the 1 minute. So I ended up buying in a little bit. The day it broke $5, whatever day that was. Let me see, what's my average? 494. 494. So where did I buy it? I think right over here. So it tagged $5, pulled back a little bit, and then I was buying right there with the script. So that was just a test run, but it might be a good thing to use because I can just set up a whole bunch of these, and if they trigger, they trigger. If they don't set up, they never set up. So I do love the chart on Neo. It is Chinese Rivian basically, so Rivian isn't the best trader. And I kind of think what's going to happen here is it's going to run up into earnings and then probably just dump on earnings. So I really love the setup though. This is a super nice flag. It took out the low right before breaking out. Pretty common thing. But interesting that Scott's on top of it too. Super, super interesting. You know what else is diverging from the market? Lululemon. Let's pull that one up. I have a big trade idea for this one. Really hoping this plays out over the next month or two. This does have earnings coming up. It does have earnings coming up. So I have a theory that if things are running down into earnings, then they tend to go up. Like this one right here. It was a big rundown, ran down into earnings. Earnings came out, whatever, it was fine, and then had a really nice run after that. So I think the market's sort of pricing in all this tariff stuff. But usually it's overblown. So I have a big plan for Lulu coming up here. I'm already averaging in to this trade. So we'll see how that goes. Big swing trade. Not looking the best. It's hard to judge, but there's a nice trend line right here. Super, super nice looking trend line. It hasn't broken yet, so still super early. Scotty also watching Lulu, looking for it to hold 200. Yes. Pretty clean trend line before starting. Yeah, not a bad idea. I'm a little early to the game, I think. Anticipating a bit. I've also got this algo over here, which I kind of like for these swing entries. And the algo likes it at 198. But it is choppy, maybe a little bit early. And you can see too, if this moving average right here, if it reclaims the moving average and goes back under, then that's not a good look because you can get another leg down like it did over here. But usually it's just 2 legs down and then it kind of finds a base. Like right here, another one. Reclaims the moving average, back under the moving average. Not a good look because it just had a huge crack right off of that. Same thing right here. It's reclaiming, back under. Oh, it's a problem. So it'll just keep doing that on the way down until it finally finds the base. So we'll see. I just have a small starter on it. And now this is my prediction for Tesla. Again, I made this algo for Tesla specifically. I like it for other things too when stocks are in play. But only when they're in play. Tesla's always in play. So yeah, this was the prediction going back here. Pretty much followed this prediction to a T. And I just updated it with what I think is going to happen next, which is something like breaking out of the bottom of this wedge. Some sort of breakdown, pullback coming. That's just a guess. But the algo is short. So I'm going to be trying to shadow this algo a bit and catch some of these short-term swings. And the fact that this just broke out of the bottom of the wedge and then broke out of the top, so it faked out the low and the high, and now immediately went back to the low. So it could continue tightening before breaking, but at the moment, it's looking weak. Things can always flip on a dime, though. And the market as a whole, kind of weak. Tech stocks, AI stocks, probably in a bubble. Nvidia, the main leader, having a pretty decent trend break right here. So the question is going to be, is this going to instantly reclaim, or is it going to actually break down and crack this 50 moving average on the daily? And that's where things start to get a little bit shaky for the overall market as a whole. Because you can see back here, when we break that 50 moving average, that's when we see a bigger pullback usually. It could always chop around a bit, or like over here, it undercut it, but reclaimed. So on the reclaim, extremely bullish, especially if it's breaking a high like this. But then if we have that sharper dip right here, then we could see a little bit bigger pullback. It's a pretty absurd run up, like pretty much straight up all the way up that trend line. So I don't know how sustainable that is, but the market always continues to surprise everyone. Tesla ultimately holding in this really big wedge. Pretty crazy. And similar, there was a similar setup back here. And this led to a massive breakout. But this was also driven by the election. Elon involved with the election, Trump winning, all this stuff. But now he's not getting the EV credits. I don't think things worked out exactly how he wanted after backing Trump and then not getting, doesn't seem like he got anything out of the deal except, helping getting Trump elected. But I think he was going after those EV credits. So he's a little upset about not getting that. But regardless, this is a crazy looking flag. I'm always not sure whenever it breaks the flag, but then it comes back up into it, and then it's broken again. So it looks like a double fake out. So it faked out the shorts, took out some long stops, came up, faked out the longs, took out some short stops, and now it's right back down to the bottom of the wedge. Pretty amazing. Let's look at UNH. UNH is trying to give me an opportunity to buy again. Right around 300 again, so not a bad place to be getting in if I'm not in. there's a gap here. So the question always is this gap going to fill or not? The gaps usually get filled. It's just a matter of time. Look, we have a gap back here too that needs to be filled. So is it going to fill this gap first, hold somewhere in here, and then come back up and fill this 380 gap? That's kind of what I'm thinking is going to happen. If we do see overall market pullback, that's going to support this idea, because the market pullback will probably be temporary. Even if the market's topping out, it usually will take months to actually top out. But this is sort of separate from the overall market. But it might generally follow some trends. Really hoping to see the gap fill. I'll be buying that for sure. So far, though, it's holding up this flag pretty well. Setting up a bit of a trend line right here. And it looks like it could reclaim that today. So things can change pretty quickly, though. Apple. Now, Apple has a really interesting setup here. So we had this flag back here, broke down on earnings, faked everybody out that was using this flag as risk, and then reclaimed, went on a crazy move right here. And now it's trying to decide if it wants to hold higher lows or have a bigger pullback. It has broken some moving averages there. It maybe just wants to pull back before continuing. It's hard to say, but my algo is short. So I'm trying this short. I'm going to be using this to take some swings. But it nailed the long right here on the breakout. I'd sell this into the move and then flip short, maybe have a bit of a pullback. This was a pretty aggressive move up. This thing is just following the trend. Whatever's happening, it's going to try. Oh, Intel was another crazy one. So Intel, big red day yesterday. With everything else, it didn't bounce like other things did. Like Coinbase bounced pretty much all the way back up. Meta, full bounce. MSTR, full bounce. Hood bounced. So the one I tried to dip by didn't bounce, unfortunately. And that makes me wonder, is this one weaker overall than everything else? I really thought this had a chance to I mean, I still think it's got a chance to push back up into the 30s. We've got Trump getting involved, pumping this thing up. And SoftBank. So things are heating up for Intel. It's at pretty much rock bottom down here in the 20s, low 20s. Just funny how Trump is saying the CEO should resign one day, the next day he likes the CEO, and then the next day after that, SoftBank is buying $2 billion stake. So hopefully this has a bigger pullback now. And I do want to buy Intel for a swing. Super interesting, but it all it's done so far is push up into this supply zone. So this is where people like to sell. Every time it gets up there, it gets smashed right back down. So if I'm just looking at the chart, it's time to sell and wait for it to come back down to the low 20s, maybe 19 area to rebuy. Now, because it's got so much attention, I don't know if it can get back down there again. But it's going to be pretty telling after today to see what happens, because it had a big red day. It didn't bounce like everything else. And if it has another red day, that's a big deal. Hard to manage risk on Trump stocks. Yeah, you just kind of have to hang on. And what's crazy is this trend break entry was perfect before any of that happened. So if you're in on the trend break, you can just write out a lot of chop and nonsense. All right, 1 minute to the bell. Part of me thinks too that Trump likes to say negative things about a stock just to push it down some. And you have to imagine people are buying that up. And then it shoots right back up in the next several days. They don't call him Pumper in Chief for nothing. Creates a lot of good opportunities. All right, what's it going to be? Bigger pullback or bounce day? So basically, if Trump talks about a stock and it goes down, buy it and just wait for it to go up. A lot of opportunities opening up. All right. Some decent penny pub, small cap pumps this morning. Newegg is hilarious. Jeez. Right back to the highs. 131. Looks like a super illiquid squeeze. Basically an overreaction bounce play. Yeah, and you know Trump's going to flip-flop on it probably. So he's just creating a dip for us to buy into. All right, Thar is halted down. Probably just a load of short sellers. Nice spike on Baba. New gen short meta. Not breaking down just yet. All right. I'm trying a sig here on Amazon. See if we get another fat 10-minute red candle. All right, here we go. Breaking down a little bit. About to take out that previous candle's wick. Nice start. Cover 1/4. Honestly, a common area here is if it takes out previous day's low, that's probably a place to get out. But we're going to come right on down to that SIG level, hopefully. SIG target area right there. A little bit more. half out. Previous day's low level is pretty key, usually. All right, come back too much for me, so I'm out. Good thing I took half in the dip. Yeah, wicked out previous day's low, and then shot right back up. So far. Ooh, UNH kind of looks good too. Little pop and drop maybe. Sig setup. All right, the big question is Tesla gonna hold this wedge still, or is it gonna break down? Little pop and drop on Tesla so far. Siglex Amazon short. To 220, 30. We'll see if that target hits. Well, it looks like meta worked for you. PTIX looking like the squeezer of the day. Pretty big move. It's like a double bottom on Amazon. Took a piece of mana. Okay. That's good. So be careful with Tesla. It is trying to hold up here. See you, Scotty. Have a good one. Yeah, Intel's still weak too. Maybe a big red day on Intel coming. I don't know. It's a big day for the market, I think, because if things don't bounce, then it's going to get kind of nasty. Tesla's trying to bounce. Be careful with your ad, I'd say. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna call it there. Gotta get going. A couple of things. APM short. PTIX looks like a short. THAR looks like a short. But we'll see how these swings work out. Got a couple swings on as well. Put some updates in Discord later. So good luck, everyone. We'll be back tomorrow.